Have you ever wondered what dark secrets might be hidden in the clothes we wear every day? Imagine a simple laundry employee who, during his nightly routine, stumbles upon a series of garments that are not only dirty but seem to carry the essence of death. My name is Carlos, and today I will tell you a story that will forever change the way you look at your surroundings, especially those small details we often overlook, which can, in fact, contain unimaginable horrors. This is the story of the night washer. It was a night like any other at the laundry where I worked. The constant sound of washing and drying machines formed a symphony that, far from being relaxing, began to unsettle me. I remember the air was thick with an unusual chill, one that did not come from the weather. There was something more, something that lingered in the shadows, moving furtively between the rows of clothes. My routine was marked by the familiar faces of the customers, but there was one figure who appeared every week, always at the same time. An elderly woman with a frail appearance and deep-set eyes, as if she carried the weight of the years on her shoulders. Her name was Agnes, and she was known around the neighborhood. But what no one knew was that her garments hid a terror beyond imagination. Every time Agnes brought her laundry, a knot formed in my stomach. Her clothes were sheets and garments stained with what seemed like dark, ominous marks. That night, as I sorted through the customers' laundry, something caught my attention. The fabric was soaked in a deep red hue, and an irresistible urge compelled me closer to examine the contents. My heart raced as I realized that the stains seemed to form patterns, recounting tales of violent deaths. One garment in particular, a worn white nightgown, had a particularly deep stain, as if someone had tried to cling to life, leaving their mark in their final moments. At that moment, curiosity overtook my fear, and I decided to investigate further. As days passed, the mystery only deepened. Each piece of clothing Agnes brought carried the same mark of tragedy, and an unsettling connection formed between them. I sought information about each of the people who had tragically lost their lives in our city. What started as a hobby turned into an obsession. Every item seemed like a window into a macabre past. The elderly woman, who appeared so harmless, was weaving a bond between horror and my own life. And as I delved deeper into her story, a pulse of terror began to rise within me. Visions of ghosts and piercing screams sent chills down my spine. The atmosphere became heavier, as if a cloud of misfortune hovered over the laundry. One night, as the rain pounded against the window like a drum, I decided to confront Agnes. I saw her sitting in her usual corner of the shop, her trembling hands caressing the worn fabric of a blouse. Unable to contain myself, I approached her. The conversation was tense. I asked her about the stains, looking into her eyes for the first time, and saw a glimmer of something terrifying in her gaze. "Every stain tells a story, young man," she said, her voice quivering in the stillness of the laundry. "They are memories of tormented souls wandering this world, and I am the guardian of their secrets." The air grew heavy. The elderly woman seemed almost possessed. Her gaze became distant, as if she could see beyond my being, and I felt trapped. She then revealed the unimaginable. Every piece of clothing she brought was a connection to the soul of someone who had died tragically. She spoke of how the garments had the power to reveal the truth behind their deaths, how their souls remained trapped within those pieces, crying out for justice, for remembrance. I shuddered at the realization that each dark stain represented a tragic event, a violence that had never been resolved. It was as if the city itself was imbued with those dark memories, and Agnes, despite her fragile appearance, was an integral part of that cycle. For weeks, the story repeated itself. Agnes brought her clothing, and I immersed myself in her tales. Each garment transformed into a new narrative of horror. However, a change was in the air, an echo of warning resonating in my mind. I knew I should pull away, but curiosity tugged at me like a red thread that kept me bound to the unknown. One night, while washing one of Agnes's shirts, I felt a presence behind me. I turned around, and there she was, watching me with her unsettling gaze. "Do you already know what you will do?" she asked in a whisper, her words heavy with a meaning I could barely grasp. It felt as if she knew what was about to happen, as if the threads of fate intertwined around her. I could not ignore the sense of danger that surrounded me. That night, the rain fell harder, and the lights of the shop flickered with an ominous glow. The laundry, typically a safe space, transformed into a labyrinth of fear. While I washed, a heart-wrenching scream echoed in my mind, and for a moment, I thought I heard the laments of those who had lost their lives. The air became dense and oppressive. The sensation that something or someone was lurking became palpable. At that moment, I understood that what had begun as curiosity had become a lethal trap. Agnes, the seemingly harmless elderly woman, was not simply guarding the secrets of the dead. She was one of them. That revelation struck me like a dagger to the heart. I looked around, the laundry appeared alive, and the shadows moved with intent. I remembered Agnes's warning, a persistent echo that followed me. Each piece of clothing, each story, came at a price. As I tried to escape, the doors slammed shut and the lights went out. In the darkness, I felt the pressure mount, as if the trapped souls were trying to break free, their desperate cries echoing for release. It was as if the laundry, a place that once brought solace, had transformed into a battlefield between the living and the dead. Finally, amid the darkness, a scream resonated through the room. It was not from the outside, but a manifestation of all the souls that had been silenced. It was then that I realized the laundry was not just a workplace. It was a portal to a reality that had been hidden from view. At that moment, I felt myself being consumed by the horror of their stories. Agnes had been the key, the connection between the dead and the living, and now I was trapped in her web. The last image I remember is of her face, illuminated by a faint glow, smiling as the shadows danced around her. She had been waiting, and perhaps I was the next to join her mysterious universe. I do not know if anyone else has managed to escape that horror, if they will ever see the light again, but I will always remember the night the laundry attendant became a grim witness to the ineffable. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like and a comment to let me know what you thought. Subscribe to the channel for more horror tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Remember, every garment has its own story, and sometimes there is more than meets the eye. Until next time,